But Arsenal started like house on fire. Signing number 2 for this new era. It's Judgment Day, people. Yeah! What did your boy tell you? It was never in doubt. Never in doubt. Don't believe in any luck, I believe I'm self-made, yeah. Now then, people, welcome back to the Just Joe Football Show. And, of course, the absolutely gutting news that today... What's that I can see there behind me? What's that there? What's that? There we go. Yeah, now then, people, welcome back to the Just Joe Football Show. And, of course, reacting to Javi Gracia's latest press conference, which unfortunately came with some absolutely terrible news that Sini is out for the rest of the season. Oh, my God.
I hate you so much right now. I hate you so much right now.
Khalees is all of us right now, man. Her milkshake is not bringing the boys to the yard. It's bringing injuries, man. We just cannot catch a break. We can't catch breaks in games of football. Got decisions going against us, like the Liverpool game. Admittedly, that wouldn't have changed the scoreline, but still. We've got Forest picking up wins against Brighton. You know, we've got Bamford with the miss of the century. And then, of course, Sini Biscuit he's injured and out for the rest of the season. Ankle injury, ligament, I believe. Nonto in then, says Nipara. You would hope so. I don't know if that's going to be the case, though. It almost feels like a bit of an ego thing now with Javi Gracia for me. I hope I'm wrong. You know, I hope I'm wrong and I hope he starts, but it doesn't make sense to play a right winger in the left wing role when you've got Willie Nonto on the bench. Until Sunday, I guess we'll not know. But at this moment in time, I sit in front of you and say, you know, I don't think he'll play him. I just do not think he'll play him. I'm not advocating moving Sinisterra on. You know, I not at all. There's a top player in there. Yeah, he's injury prone, but you know, it takes a long time to adjust to the physicalness. The physicalness, is that a word? The physical attributes needed to the Premier League. You know, we've seen many players come and take to it like a duck to water. Erling Haaland, for example. Others come and really struggle. Brendan Aronson, we know all too well there's players that have come and struggled. Tyler Adams got it straight in there. And Sinisterra has struggled with it and has constantly broken down. You know, it'd be nice to have him in the Bielsa era, but then you look at it and think, well, no, he'd never played under the Bielsa era with the demands physicality. Yeah, thank you very much, people in the chat there. So yeah, it's brutal, isn't it? Really, really brutal. I don't know what that. I think we're going to struggle. I think we're really going to struggle now because Max Vober as well. He's not training with the team. We're literally 2 days out from the from the game. You'd imagine the lads that have already been in training, so he didn't train today, I'd imagine. So then what? I don't know. It's bad, isn't it? Like no Vober, no Adams, and no Sinisterra. And Sinisterra, for you know, he's a clutch player. He scores big goals. He always looks dangerous. Now, if we had Nonto, then you know, if we were safe in the knowledge that Nonto was going to play, we could we'll be all right. But you know, if you think about it, because we didn't have Sini when Jesse was playing Nonto all the time, and Nonto was doing so much. So I don't know if Vober's out, but he said he's not trained. He is not trained. He's not trained all week. We're now on Friday. The game's in 2 days. Is he going to be at a level to be able to play? Maybe not. Maybe not. So, yeah, like Hannah Lucy said, it's almost like we're destined to go down, right? Sini has always been very injury prone, but if you can get him fit, I mean, it would be class. But like I say, it's not great for Leeds. We will go through the press conference in a little more detail and pick the bones out of what Javi's had to say, both good and bad, and see where we go from here. But at this moment in time, folks, the fact that it's just one thing after the other, isn't it? You know, we just can't catch a break this season, it feels to me. But we're the masters of our own downfall, really, if we're being totally honest, because the recruitment's been poor. We've not got enough bodies. I know people like to lay that at Bielsa's door, but if you remember, you know, Jesse wanted more bodies, and then he came out and said, oh, no, prefer a small squad. It's very much the Victor Orta way, I believe, more so. But they're just, you know, we're blaming it all on Bielsa. I'm not saying Bielsa didn't like that, but the club have tried to carry that on, and it's not working for us. And Javi doesn't have many options. But what I will say, he's got a fantastic talent in Willie Gnonto to replace Sini. If he starts Cree, and again, let me reiterate, this is nothing against Crysencio Somerville, because I actually rate him after my initial, misgivings of him, where I said that, you know, he was Yampa Vida 2.0. I know now that I am wrong on that, but I would still advocate Harrison on the right and Sinisterra on the left, Rodrigo in the 10 and Bamford up top. Now, he was asked if Bournemouth away is a must win. And he said, yeah, for sure, we need points. We have to give everything. We've missed the last couple of chances to get points, and we have to take the next one. Because ultimately, folks, realistically, if we don't beat Bournemouth, we're not getting a win in the next two. Because we play City away, that we're not getting a win there. Like, it would, of course, you never say never in football. We won there under Bielsa, but you know that at this moment in time, I have no confidence that we'll get a win at the Etihad. Is it any wonder? I mean, look what they did to Arsenal, who are still top of the league, and they made them look like a pub team at times. And then we've got Newcastle, and we've seen Newcastle slap Spurs for 6 and Everton for 5 last night, or 4, one disallowed, but they looked electric. So I don't see us winning them next two, and then we've got 3 games in effect to save the season. 2 games then to save the season in West Ham and Spurs. That's the realistic, the realism after it. So we've got to win. It is a must win, because then, and I do believe, you know, 1 win could be enough. It might not be, but it could be. We might not win again, and it still might be enough. Everton do not look good. I still look, and I've been speaking to the 12-man podcast lads, and Scott McKenna and Nico Williams for Nottingham Forest are out for the season now as well. That's been confirmed, so that's big losses for them as well. But they have a big squad, you know. Some would say too big, but they've still got players they can call upon. But we're not the only ones losing bodies. But I think, you know, with how small our squad is, that, you know, it's difficult for us to compete with, say, Forest, to have like 40 bodies, and especially when you consider the impact. I mean, yes, they've lost Nico Williams, Serge Aurier can come in there. Yes, Scott McKenna, but they have other, players that can come in and replace him. But yeah, I would have to agree it's a must win. I will sit here in front of you now and say that if we don't win the game, I still will, you know, until it's mathematically impossible, I've still got to believe. But, you know, it's not looking good right now. And then when you take out Sinisterra and have no confidence that he'll play Gnonto, it just feels like, what are we going to do? Listen, we've nearly got 300 people watching. If you can, please do smash a like on the video for me. I'll be doing an opposition preview tomorrow at 11 a.m., with Sam from the Bournemouth podcast. And then I've got a watch along of West Ham versus Palace. West Ham are not out of it yet, because they've played the 2 Manchester clubs after that as well. And then I've got work, folks, and then I'll be back Sunday, of course, for our game against Bournemouth, crunch game, a really, really, really big game, and I just don't know how to feel about it. I'm nervous. It's not. Yeah, like Matt says, it ain't over till it's over. Exactly. He was asked if there were any positives against Foxes, and he said, yeah, there were some to take, but, you know, the last few results have been unexpected, and we have to take the next result. I mean, come on, because we're not getting out against City, and you never know. Listen, I know it's clutching here, but you never know against Newcastle at home. You just never know. He was asked about Bamford looking devastated. Have you had to pick him up? How important is he? We know how important that because if we go down by 2 points, that miss has cost us. Now, let me just caveat this. I'm not saying that the whole then season rested on that. Because, of course, the reason we're in this position is pure mismanagement from top to bottom. Poor performances, a poor manager. You could argue 2 poor managers. And but if we go down by 2 points, if Bamford scores that chance, which he should have, then you know, it is what it is. Ryan Morrison says, what do we want from Leicester versus Everton? I think a draw. Or do you want Leicester to win? Because I think Leicester will stay up. Do you want Leicester to win to keep Everton down there in the doldrums? I don't know. Does a draw for them? Like, it all depends if we win on Sunday. If we win on Sunday, we can revisit it because that gives us a gap. If we win on Sunday, which is a big, big if, I would want Leicester to win because then the gap stays. Do you know what I mean? We create a bigger gap over Everton. However, if we lose, then I would want a draw because I don't want teams going above us. And at this moment in time, Leicester, Forest, Everton and Southampton are below us. Southampton have got a really tough game at the weekend. Southampton play Newcastle away. They're not winning that. I think Southampton are done now. Leicester play Everton on Monday night and Nottingham Forest are away at Brentford. Nottingham Forest away form, not great, but Brentford have not been in great form. Yes, they beat Chelsea, but prior to that, they hadn't won in 8. They're on the beach. Forest may well stay up. I still fancy them to go down. I did not see that. Richard Ross says, Joe, have you seen Beckford spoke to Willie Nonto on a podcast? Willie's response was he does not know why he's not getting picked or used. Was that on the Leeds United podcast as well? Because if it is, that almost feels like a little bit of pressure coming from within the club as well. The fact that they've allowed that question to be aired, because that seems a bit strange and undermining of the manager to me. So that might be a bit of naughtiness from the club maybe. But I do think Javi needs to put some faith in the kid. But yeah, no, Tippy Tappy podcast. I don't know what that is, bro. I'll have to check it out. But yeah, listen, if we win, we're on 33, which would put us a point behind West Ham. And then if Leicester, say, for example, were to beat them, that would then mean that Everton would have 5 points behind us with only 4 games left to go. That's a big haul. That's 2 wins for them. Everton could be down, you know. So I would argue beat Bournemouth, then a Leicester win. Because Leicester would still be below us and Everton would be further away from us. So it all depends on if we win. If we draw or lose, then I want them to draw. Anyway, back to what he said. So about Bamford looking devastated, he says, look, in these moments, we have to be mentally strong. We had 2 clear chances. Obviously, there was the Rocker one as well, which the keeper saved, and then Christensen kicked it off the line. He did say, because I've seen people saying he was offside or you donut and that. I seen Michael from All Leeds TV taking a bit of flack over it being that someone said it was offside. Watch the game yourself instead of listening to what pundits or what people are saying. Watch the game, you'll see it was onside. And Javi admitted that fact. So before you start sending shots for people, check yourself. And he said it wasn't offside, and you know, and we had 2 big chances to win the game. Of course, Leicester had chances as well, and they were created from our mistakes. We had the chance, but we didn't take it. And if them chances come in the next game, we have to take them. Sini, how is he? Out for the season. New injury, and his ligaments in his ankle are gone. He was asked about Sini being one of the best players and how big a blow is it, especially when you consider Tyler Adams is out as well. And he says, look, it's a big blow, but I will not complain. I have enough players to compete better. Whether or not he will play them, that's a different story. Options on the left-hand side with Cree or Nonto. How has Willie responded to not being picked, etc. And he, you know, this is where I think about the ego side of it a little bit. He comes in and he says, you know, you always ask me about Willie. He's an exceptional player and a pleasure to work with him. But I have to think what's best for the team. Last time I picked Creed, but I'm sure Willie will have chances in the next game. If Willie Gnonto doesn't start away at Bournemouth, it's a madness. It is a madness. But I just don't like that. Not so much the tone, because I don't want it lost in translation, etc. And he is Spanish and his English isn't the best. But it's the fact that he said, you always ask me about Willie. It's like he's frustrated by it. And if he doesn't play him, it's almost, for me, as I keep coming back to it, a little bit of an ego thing. You know, Rocker touched on it before about how when George Graham refused to play Tony Yeboah, etc. There's a little bit of that, and the crowd are saying Gnonto, and he's talking in press conferences about one player's always better from the bench and all these different stuff where you think, this is getting to him. This is getting to him. I mean, surely the best option will... Long Shen Yu says he will play, he said so. He said that last week. Are you going to take everything you hear as gospel? Because we've been here before. I hate this. Oh, but the club said they'll get this. Oh, but the club... You know, I've had to block people who've come on before and been like, you know, not rude, but like said some shit things to me because they heard an interview with Radrazani and said, no, he said this and said that. Do you really believe what comes out of these people's mouths? Now, of course, he might play him. But, do you know what I mean? If you want to, that's fine. But I reserve my judgment on that. He was asked then by Adam Pope, so tactically against Leicester, why was it better to play Cree over Willie? Again, you could tell, you know, it rubbed him up the wrong way. It's something what's better for the team. He said, not fair to compare. Both will and can help us. But again, as I said, he said last time out, because I looked, my last press conference reaction, which I think was ahead of Fulham, I think. Did we do the Leicester one? I don't know. No, I didn't do the Leicester one. I think I was busy. But he said that Willie Gnonto was fit. We all thought he'd start. He didn't start. He didn't even feature against Leicester. So, how is it? He was mentioned about the bonding because they must have had pizza. Have we seen pictures with pizzas? I've missed that. But they must have had a bonding session. And they said, how important is that in helping, you know, get the players' minds better? And he did say, when we watch the games and results are better for us. So whenever these had these pizzas, they must have been watching the game. And because he said, when we watch the games and results are better for us. So we are sat there. Obviously, they're watching Everton Newcastle. They're watching Everton Newcastle last night. I don't know whether that's a good thing. Of course, you're allowed to watch whatever, but he says when we watch games and results are better for us, but we have to be focused on ourselves and get results, play better and win points. I mean, that's a given, whether or not we will. Someone asked him then, because I know there's a lot of fans coming up with this as well, saying, you know, should he go? And he said, if we don't win, are you worried about your position? I think it'd be crazy to sack him. You know, it's insane to sack him with 5 games left to go. I genuinely believe I don't know who's going to come in unless you give it Skubala, but I just think that'd be suicide because Javi has coached at this level. You know, Javi has had a pretty decent career. You know, he did get to an FA Cup final with Watford. He's not a mug. Yeah, it's not going well for him, but he did get us 11 points. He has got us 11 points in 10 games, which is more than what we were getting prior to that. I just think it'd be crazy to sack him now. I mean, for those that are saying, what does Javi bring to the table? Like I've said, I'm not defending him here because he's not great and he won't stay past the season. But let's not forget, he has got 11 points in 10 games. So that's what he's brought to the table. Yes, the last 3 or 4 games have been brutal, but prior to that, they were not. And if we had not had that change, then would we have got them results? I'm not sure. We can all look back now and say Rafa was the best choice. You know, Nuno was the best choice. Do I think we'd have got better points than... I do. I think we'd have been not safe, but... yeah, so... This whole talk of him getting sacked, it's crazy, folks. I know we live in an era where that's what everyone does, but with 5 games left to go, not for me. I think it's wild. So he was asked about him worrying about his position, and he says, I only care for the team's position. That's the right mentality to have. Let's not forget when he was doing well, he was asked about the job in the summer. He said the same thing. Let's not forget that Javi Gracia agreed to come here. He agreed to come here on a flexible contract because we couldn't get no other manager through the door. These all have to be feathers in the cap. I know it's hard to see it now, but you have to sit back and think about that. You know, he agreed to come when no one else would. He's on a flexible contract, which doesn't give him any sort of, you know, security, job security in a time where it is, difficult, you know. So he's got to be, he'll have all this going through his head as well. He's probably, you know, family, kids to feed, etc. You know, so sometimes you have to think about it from that perspective as well. I just think it'd be suicide for me anyway. People might say sticking with him would be suicide, but we're still not in the relegation zone. We have got 10 points out of 11 games. A point a game over the course of a season, does that keep you up? I mean, this season it would, right? So I don't know. Jamie said he's an employee of Leeds United who's paid to keep us up, and he might do that. He might do that. So he said, I only care for the team's positions. We got 11 points in 10 games, and we will focus to do our best in the next 5 games, starting from Bournemouth. That's all we can ask. He was asked about Bournemouth's strengths. Obviously, Bournemouth all but confirming their survival for me yesterday and relegating Southampton. D, I think we're doing revisionism again. We're rewriting history. He's beaten Southampton, Forest, and Wolves. That's 3 massive results. That's 3 massive results. So would we have got them under the previous manager? I would say no. But people will say otherwise. I agree, mate. I think it's mad. I think that's a bit revisionism now to all of a sudden because we've lost 4 on the spin go. Oh, has he actually done that well? We couldn't win a game for love nor money. You know, I was talking to someone earlier, and the World Cup screwed us a little bit because had we not had the World Cup, Jesse would have probably gone before January, and then we would have been able to get a new manager in and back him instead of backing Jesse and then sacking him 1 game after. But yeah, Sterile Mate says the only wise sacking is the board. Yeah, exactly. Sack of the board. Make sure you get your merch. So what are their strengths? He said, in my opinion, Bournemouth are a well-organised team. Remember, we'll be speaking to Sam from the Bournemouth podcast tomorrow at 11 a.m. if you want to join us for that. Great podcast, great knowledge. And it'll be good to get their thoughts going into it. He said, in my opinion, they're a well-organised team and have a very clear style. They did it yesterday and got good results. They're in a better position than us, and we are confident we can get a good result. Someone asked a stupid question like saying, oh, Bournemouth have a small squad and a low budget, which they don't actually because their owners have got money. Why are they higher than you? Stupid questions like that. And he just went, because football is not about money, and then started to speak about it. And I just wrote in my notes, what the feck is that about? Who cares? Who cares? Why are you asking that question? Or why are Bournemouth higher than you? Well, they've won more games, you tit. Waste of a question. Yeah. Jonathan says 3 wins and a draw against Brighton and Leicester. Only the Palace result was a disappointment. Do you know what? When you actually deep it, big up Johnny as well. Looking forward to seeing you soon, bro. That's a great point. Like, I'm not saying Javi's amazing, but he's had 3 wins, yeah, against teams in and around us. People go, yeah, but we should be beating them. I hate that as well because we weren't beating them before he came. So Watford, Southampton, and what was it? Forest, right? There's 3 wins. Then he's got draws against Leicester and Brighton. Palace disappointed. Liverpool weren't expected to win. Arsenal not expected to win. Chelsea probably may look at it and say, yeah, we should have got something, which we should at the time. But they had Potter at that point. If it were Lampard, we probably would have. But he's actually doing okay. It's just because of the run of results. Do you know what I mean? It's like when Bielsa was sacked. Because we had all them tough games in such a short space of time, that's all that's in the memory. You know what I mean? Oh, we've just been spanked. But Johnny Brooks hit the nail on the head with that, actually. Draws against Palace and Leicester and 3 wins. It's not that bad. Palace, yeah, capitulation, etc. But, yeah, it is what it is. So he was then asked about Max Fober as well. He's not in training with the team either, maybe in the next few days, but I just don't see Fober. I mean, he didn't even travel with the squad against Leicester. Now he's not trained. Will he even travel down to Bournemouth? I would say not so at this point. The defence are going to have a job on their hand because Solanke's in top form. Philip Billings a great player as well. How do you keep the belief? He just said they're pros, they're very good pros, and they have to show it in the bad moments. He must have said at some point the team is full of confidence, or someone said to him, you know, why are they full of confidence? Like, how are they full of confidence? Because, like you say, we've lost 4 on the spin now. No, we haven't. We've lost 3 and drawn 1. And he said, look, we feel better working in the week, but we need the reward of points. We've missed important chances, but we don't have time to think about it. They've done it before. They can do it again. And this is true, right? We were down last season. We were down last season. We saved ourselves. You could argue we were only going one way under Jesse. Javi's come in. They've got good points. You know, going behind against Forest, they could have crumbled. They didn't. Getting a draw against Brighton, very tough fixture. They got it, you know. No, Jamie, I hear what you say. No, that's a fair. Yeah, you can hold me account for that because we should have done better against Liverpool. No, that's fair, Jamie. Yeah. So now we weren't expected to beat Liverpool. No, I agree with you there. They had lost 3. Only won 3 away from home. Yeah, that's fair. I'll give you that. And you know, Forest, you know, gave them a good, better game than what we did, right? But yeah, he said they're working on their moments. He was asked about his formations going into the game. Will we see any changes? He said, I just have to analyse the team and the players that we have. I always try to choose the best shape and 11. He mentioned about, in most cases, the players coming from the bench are not deciding the games. I found that a bit strange. I don't know if that was a little adage in to say, even if I use Nonto, it doesn't change the game. I don't know. And he did mention the fact that we have so many injuries. Which we do, you know, and to key players as well, Adams, Vobra and Sini now, it's brutal. Phil Hay asked him why has it gone so wrong since half-time at Palace. I hope it's not to do with this big fallout that apparently happened. We have no credible sources that are saying it, just hearsay, but if something did go off, it must have been bad because we've looked rubbish since, right? He said, look, it was a strange game. We were good in the first half. We deserved a better result in this in the second. We deserved a better result on the game itself, which I agreed with. I think we could have been about 3-0, you know, at that point. He did say we deserved a better result, but in the second half we conceded too many goals. No shit, Sherlock. And he said after that, we've competed in some games at moments well, which we did against Liverpool for 20 minutes. You know, we did for a period of time, and we did against Leicester in the first half. I would argue he was too negative in the second instead of going out for a second goal. But he's scared. You know, that Jesse saying they're scared. Javi just doesn't want to lose games. He doesn't want to lose games. And down there in the relegation dogfight, a point could keep you up by the end. FULHAM said, we need 7 points. That's insane, bro. You do not need 7 points. There's 5 games left. We'd have to win 2 and draw 1. That's no, you know, Everton haven't won in Forest hadn't won since February prior to that. You don't need 7 points. You do not need 7 points. Them teams are down there for a reason. That's meaning that we'd have to get 7, and then they'd all have to start winning. 7's insane. Out of 5 games, to get 2 wins and a draw. I mean, if you got that, you're definitely up. We could win on thingy, and I'd look at it and go, that puts us on 37. I think we might stay up. I guess you as a fan would say Wolves, Bournemouth, Palace safe. They're on 37. Do you know what I mean? So 7 points is wild. Everyone's entitled to their opinion, though. If you're wanting 7 points and you think that's going to be it, then we won't get 7. I don't see us getting 7 points. Not a chance. But I think, 3 or 4, like people are saying, definitely. He did say, look, we've deserved better results or a better result against Palace, but obviously we got slapped second half. We've competed in some games well. And he did say against Leicester, we're competing better and we're close to doing that and getting points. You know, we can. So maybe that will come at Bournemouth, right? It has got better. slapped 5-1 by Palace, 6-1 by Liverpool, 2-1 by Fulham. Not a great performance, but we got a point against Leicester with their tails up. Now, hopefully, we can go and have a good performance and get 3 points. Phil here asked him, would you make different decisions in games now looking back, with hindsight? And this is something that I have taken confidence from. This is something that I have taken confidence from, and I think you should too. He said, we haven't had much time to work on the shape, tactics, formation between games, right? Because they only had 2 days between Fulham and Leicester. We've now had more time to prepare. And when Javi's come up with game plans, we were all lauding him when he first came in. We were all lauding him, saying he's coming up with different tactical plans depending on opponents, etc. And it's a good look. He's now had from Tuesday up to Sunday. Now, Bournemouth only played last night at Southampton, right? So they've got less days training than us. They've had less rest and recuperation than us. So we should be ready. We should start fast. We should have the correct game plan because he's had enough time to prepare. And Bournemouth only just played last night. So that's important. That can't be understated. You've got to throw in West Ham there as well, because West Ham have got to play 4 games in 10 days from the 11th to the 21st. One of them being, or 2 of them games being a European Cup semi-final. So that is better. He said, I'm not complaining about it, the schedule, etc., but that is better. I think we have to take our wins where we can. And the fact that we've had more time to rest, but also come up with the game plan for Bournemouth is good. He was asked about the fitness worries. Leeds fans are saying they're not fit enough. I haven't seen that. I don't see that being something that I've seen. But talking about the drop-offs, I don't even think it's fitness. It's the tactics. So I don't know where that question came from. I think it was the same guy that asked the stupid question about why Bournemouth are higher when they're smaller. I don't know. Weird. And he said, to be honest, it's nothing physical. It's nothing physical. It's maybe to do with the stresses in the schedule. It's the player's mental state, right? It's the player's mental state. So that does get called into question a lot, but we have to hang on to the fact that this team have been in the relegation zone 4 times this season and won the next game. So they do have that mental capacity to be able to pull through. They showed it last season, winning on the final day in difficult circumstances. So they can do it. Will they do it? I don't know. But what's for certain is Sunday's game is massive, absolutely huge. And hopefully we can win it. We've had more time to prepare, much more time to prepare than Bournemouth. So we should be ready for this game. There's a lot riding on it because after that, we've got 2 huge games against City and Newcastle that will get beaten, you know what I mean? So we need to put some points on the board so that if Everton or Forest or Leicester or even Southampton get wins, they're only closing a gap. They're not overtaking us. As long as there are teams below us, I will always have belief. And at this moment in time, there are still 4 teams that are worse than us in the league. Not on performances, we're down there, don't get me wrong. But there are 4 teams below us. 4 teams below us. We've got a point over Leicester, 2 points over Everton, and 6 over Southampton. Hope and pray, folks. Listen, no stream tonight. My son's staying over. I will be back in the morning, though. I'll be doing an opposition preview / Bournemouth preview at 11 o'clock, and then we'll have a watch-along for Crystal Palace versus West Ham. Then I've got work, and then I'll see you Sunday. But listen, let me know your thoughts in the comments. I guess the main question is, now that Sini's out for the season, will he play Willie Gnonto? We will have to wait and see. Thanks always for watching, and I will see you.